Doug, how have you guys handled the early adversity from a locker room perspective?
We're just trying to get everyone and pull everyone together. You know, it's tough because, you know, obviously everyone's frustrated, and we've got to be able to communicate, you know, our frustration and get everyone pulling in the same direction.
Hey, Doug, what advantages do you have having done this trip every year, or I guess the Jags having done this trip every year, that a team like the Eagles wouldn't have doing it for the first time?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you know, having done it a couple times and even in my past, I think you just kind of know how you're going to feel. You know about the flight. You know what you have to do, and you know we try to just get our older players, guys that have done it before. You know, just to talk to our younger guys or guys that haven't made the trip before, of just, hey, this is how it is. This is about the flight. This is what you need to do. I think everybody pretty much has. You know, all the plans from a science standpoint and all that other stuff. It's just a matter of, you know, the players just believing it and then go ahead and doing it. So a lot of that is more of just, you know, making sure they know, you know, hey, this part of it's tough, this part's tough. Hey, this is where you're going to start to feel better, and then hey, you know, then we should be, you know, right on schedule for game day. So basically, that's what goes on.
And what's the biggest challenge or the biggest obstacle?
I think, you know, obviously the biggest challenge is probably these next 48 hours, you know, just making sure you're taking care of yourself, and then just probably, honestly, making sure you're able to sleep on the plane, and then staying awake the next day. No, I mean, that's it right there. I mean, it's not rocket science, but...
Doug, I know you responded to Doug Peterson's comments in his books about watching the Jaguars game in the AFC Championship and how he didn't think you guys were aggressive enough. But have you spoken to him since then?
No, you know, I don't know Doug on that level. I have a ton of respect for him as a coach, and you know, and I think that's fine. That stuff doesn't really faze me. I mean, you know, whenever you do something and you're not going to win a game, you know, it opens it up for everything. I mean, there's times that myself when I look back and hey, you know, I could have made better decisions to put our team in a better situation. There's no doubt about it. So I don't have any problems at all. I know he's a great coach, and I'm sure from everything I heard from everyone that he's a great guy. So, you know, I've had no issues with that.
Have you noticed the rest of the league following his lead? I mean, I know that there's been other coaches that have been aggressive on fourth down beforehand and on two-point conversions. Have you noticed there being a sea change this season?
I think Doug does a great job in that. I think that, you know, he knows his team, he knows what they can do, and you see that in how they perform. So I just think, you know, now what's going on, I think it all depends on, you know, each coach has their own opinion or what they should do, and it's hard to talk about, you know, what someone else is doing, you know, if you don't have, you know, you have different tools in the toolbox. So. You know, but it does seem like, you know, people are being more aggressive this year.
It seems like you might be a little more aggressive too. Is that true? Do you believe that, and why is that?
Well, I think I was, you know, if you look at the past, I've been aggressive in special teams situations like that. I just, you know, I have a philosophy that, you know, I try not to take a game away, you know, by making calls. But if I feel good about it and I think we can execute it and I like the matchups, I have no problem calling it.
Hey, Doug, you know, when the schedule came out and this game was set up, you know, you're looking at two of the Final Four teams, so to speak, from last season. Do you kind of see this game now as, you know, both you and the Eagles pretty much needing a win in order to keep, you know, your season alive, hopes alive, basically?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, the reality is, hey, you know, we're one game back and we still got our division games to play. You know, that's the reality. And really, in the NFL, you know, every game is so important to what you do. So, you know, when it gets to, like, people say, well, hey, is this a must-win game? Is this, you know, every game you go into, you know, you're trying to project that it's a must-win game. And then, you know, you just got to get back to work and go to work. So, you know, I think, you know, for both teams, they're trying to go in there and win. No different if it was week 1 or week 8. You know, I think later on in the year, obviously, you know, when you're mathematically at it or, you know, out of it or mathematically in it, then I think, yeah, then it gets more to the, you know, the do or die because you're either in or out. But right now, you know, everyone's going to do the best day job to win because, you know, every game's a must win.
Coach, what do you think's been the main issue with you guys over the past few weeks?
I mean, it's the same as, you know, a lot of teams in the league, you see it, you know, you get a lot of injuries. We have multiple injuries on the offensive side, and, you know, we have some injuries on the defensive side. So last year we were fortunate. We stayed healthy. But again, that's not an excuse. We've got to, be able to do things, put players in position to make plays. Really, the games that we've won, we've been able to make plays, and the games that we lost, we haven't been able to make, any plays. And it really goes to all three phases, not just one.
Doug, what did you take away from your time with Jim Schwartz in Buffalo?
It probably goes earlier than that. When Jim was probably with the Titans, and I think I was with New York and playing against his defenses, and having a lot of people that I knew that worked for Jim, like Jim Washburn and I knew each other very well, and just the job that he did. I think that when people do their research and you look at guys that have been defensive coordinators, the job he's done, he's probably one of the best. Third down guys, and schematically. Then my time with him wasn't anything unusual. No stone unturned. Is on everything. Has a great philosophy. Truly believes in it. Gets the players to play hard. Can do a great job. Can overcome. Can make adjustments. That's what I think. The one thing he does extremely well. And he really is. He's outstanding. And it's he's a great defensive coordinator. And I think he does a great job in running the football team also.
He has that Georgetown economics background. In what way does he use numbers to his advantage?
Well, one of the things, I can't stand Georgetown because I went to Syracuse and I hate them. I knew I was in trouble. I said I got a Georgetown guy on my staff. But he's extremely smart, and it's like all of us. I mean, we use the numbers, we use the analytics, and those things are great, and they all make sense. But the part of it where the coaching part gets involved is, hey, I know what the numbers say, but do we have the right people in the right matchups? Do we have the people in the right gaps? Do we have the right pressure? Do we have the right way to force the quarterback out? Do we have, I think when people talk to me about analytics, I tend to say, hey, listen, we listen to those numbers, we look at them, but then we have to look at, what we're working with to see, how those numbers work out and how we can put those numbers to our advantage.
What has been the message this week to Blake Bortles, and what do you see when you look at the Eagles' defense?
Well, the message this week for our team, it's no mistake, is that, the turnovers are killing us. Last year at this time, we had like 16 takeaways. Now we only have 5. We're like -9. And the turnover battle, last year we were +8. I mean, and so for us, what we're doing is we're just spending a lot of time, more time now than we have before, during the individual period of, hey, takeaways and securing the football and ball security, and really just as far as everyone else is just, hey, that level of focus, that level of enthusiasm that we had, and being able to overcome adversity, which we've done before. Most of the guys here, obviously last year we overcame adversity early in the year, and making sure that, hey, we all have to be on the same page and we all have to be pulling in the same direction.
Why does Blake give you the best chance to win over Cody?
Well, Blake has done it before, and again, when I first made the move right after the game, I told him, we weren't playing well, in all three phases, and the only thing you really have, at least in my opinion, my philosophy to do, is to make sure, hey, you take the quarterback, you pull him to the side, and then you watch and you see how people respond, their level of focus, because, it's really the one position that you do that to, you can do it to anyone else on the field. So that was the purpose of the move at the time. And then, just from my standpoint, it's going to have to go back and people are going to put it on, the one position, even though you try to explain your decision to everyone, which has happened, which is not a problem. It's expected, and it's more of not just that position, but it's more of just everyone, giving us the best opportunity to win, and we'll make those adjustments as the week goes on.
Hey, I want to ask you about a local guy for us, David Greenidge, who, 3 weeks ago was on your practice squad and ended up starting last week at tight end. Like, what you've seen from him as far as his progression?
Yeah, I think, it's always difficult. David's been a guy that's been on a practice squad, and now is his chance to show, that he deserves to be on this league. I think like anything else, when you first go in there and you're a guy that worked hard, there's going to be a learning curve for him. You see him going through it. As a matter of fact, both of our tight ends, weren't even on the roster, right now when we started, the guys that played last week. So, it's a challenge for us, but again, it's difficult. David, we've worked with, he has the ability, but like I always say, there's a lot of people that have the ability to play the game of football, but the problem with the sport of football, it's a performance business that you need to do that on Sunday. So I think that, David did a nice job last week, and we'll see. I always think from the first game to the second game, with first-year players or young players or first-time starters is where you see the greatest growth.
Doug, I know you don't handle personnel, but Carlos Hyde really seems to fit your style of running the football. Why did it take so long to make this move?
Well, I think, there's a lot of things that go into it. I'm not sure. I don't want to say that we weren't trying earlier when we were, but you know how it works when these things go on between teams. It takes two. You have to have two people willing to do it. So we're just excited right now that we have him. He does fit into the style that we would like to play, and he practiced today for the first time out on the field, and we're excited about him.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Yep.